He was just an old man asking for a jacket, but the store manager shoved him outside like garbage. What no one expected was that, just 15 minutes later, the president himself would be on the phone, demanding to speak to the owner. If this story moves your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. From which country are you watching my video, as I can see where my video is being watched? It was a cold winter morning in Washington, D.C., the kind of day where even the breath from your mouth turns into fog and every gust of wind cuts through your clothes like a knife. People hurried down the streets with scarves around their faces and coffee in their hands, rushing in and out of buildings, desperate to avoid the freezing air. In the middle of this hustle, an old man named Walter stood outside a luxurious clothing store called Regal Threads. He wore a thin, worn-out coat, faded with time and frayed at the edges. His shoes were mismatched, and his gloves had holes in them. Yet his posture was proud. His back was straight, his eyes calm. Anyone passing by might have mistaken him for someone lost or confused, but Walter knew exactly what he was doing. He looked through the store's big glass windows, his eyes landing on a navy blue jacket displayed on a mannequin. It was simple, but elegant, just what he needed to survive this cruel winter. Walter hesitated a moment, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. The moment he entered, warmth enveloped him. Expensive cologne hung in the air, and soft classical music played from speakers. The floor gleamed, and rows of polished shoes and folded shirts lined the walls. Customers in suits and silk scarves browsed leisurely. Behind the counter stood a sharply dressed man in his 30s named Vincent. He was the store manager, and from the way he adjusted his cufflinks every few minutes, he clearly took pride in appearances. Walter approached the counter slowly and said in a soft but clear voice, "Good morning, sir. I was wondering if you might have any jackets on discount, maybe even something slightly damaged. I don't have much, but I really need something warm." Vincent didn't even look up at first. When he finally did, his expression twisted into something between disgust and disbelief. "Are you lost, old man? This isn't a thrift store." Walter smiled politely. "I understand. I just thought, maybe an old stock item. Anything you could spare, really." Vincent chuckled coldly and looked around at the other customers, clearly enjoying the moment. "Sir, we don't cater to your kind. You're lowering the tone of the store. Please leave." Walter's smile faded, but he didn't get angry. He nodded slightly, turned around, and started walking toward the door. But just before he could, "Leave," Vincent called out, loud enough for everyone to hear, "and next time try goodwill. That's more your style." A few people chuckled. Walter said nothing. He just stepped outside into the cold, pulled his thin coat tighter around him, and slowly walked away. 15 minutes passed. Inside the store, Vincent was helping a well-dressed man with a leather briefcase when the phone rang. The receptionist picked it up and went pale. She whispered, "Vincent, it's the White House. They're asking for the store owner." Vincent laughed. "Very funny." She held out the phone, her hand trembling. "I'm not joking." Confused, Vincent grabbed the receiver. Hello?" a firm voice answered.
"This is Agent Saunders with the White House Communications Office. Is this the manager?" Vincent stammered. Yes, this is Vincent, store manager at Regal Threads. We have a situation. The President of the United States would
like to speak with the owner of your store. Immediately." Vincent's mouth went dry. He ran to the back office and dialed the owner, Mr. Reynolds, who arrived within minutes, still wearing his golf shoes. As Reynolds took the call, the entire store fell silent. Even the customers were watching. "Good afternoon, Mr. Reynolds. This is President Alexander Mason," said the calm voice on the other end. "One of your employees mistreated a man who is not only a friend of mine, but also a retired war hero. I believe his name is Walter Hargrove." Mr. Reynolds looked like he'd been struck by lightning. The president continued, "Walter served in 3 wars. He was awarded the Silver Star and the Purple Heart. He's been instrumental in helping veterans reintegrate into society. Today, he came to your store simply looking for a coat. Instead, he was humiliated. Reynolds stammered, Mr. President, I had no idea. I don't care about excuses, the president said firmly. What I care about is how you intend to make this right. Because let me be very clear, the nation will be watching. Within 30 minutes, the news trucks were outside. Someone had recorded the earlier exchange between Vincent and Walter on their phone. It was already spreading across social media with the caption, "This is how America treats its heroes?" Reynolds fired Vincent on the spot in front of the cameras. Then he held a press conference apologizing to Walter and all veterans. Reporters scrambled to find Walter. They finally caught up with him sitting on a park bench near the war memorial, feeding pigeons, still wearing his old coat. One reporter asked, "Mr. Hargrove, how did the president know what happened?" Walter smiled softly. "We served together once. He was just a young lieutenant then. I saved his life when our convoy was hit. I didn't think he remembered. But I guess some debts aren't forgotten." When asked what he thought about the whole situation, Walter simply said, "I didn't want attention. I just needed a coat." The next morning, Walter woke up to find a limousine waiting outside the shelter where he stayed. A staff member handed him a letter. It read, "Walter, it's time you were treated with the dignity you deserve. You'll find a warm home waiting for you. Consider it a small thank you from your old friend Alex." The car took him to a cozy apartment fully furnished and stocked with everything he could ever need. On the couch sat a gift box. Inside was the navy blue jacket he had looked at in the store, only this one had been custom stitched with a patch. On the inside, reading, "For Walter Hargrove, hero, brother, friend." That day, Walter stood at the war memorial again, this time wearing his new jacket. He looked at the flag and saluted with the same steady hand he had used years ago on the battlefield. Nearby, a crowd had gathered, clapping and placing flowers at his feet. But Walter didn't care about the applause. He wasn't doing it for attention. He never had. He did it because honor doesn't fade with time, and respect isn't something you ask for. It's something you live by. And for one old man in a worn coat, that was always enough.